So this is a review from The Rap's Humberto Gonzalez. He called it the greatest DC movie of all time. Here is his review. Believe the hype. Christopher Nolan movies aside, The Flash is the greatest DC movie over the last 30 years that belongs in some conversation as Superman 78 and Batman 89. The movie breaks incredible new ground in superhero cinema and honors DC lore of years past. No.
Oh, goody, goody, here it comes.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Oh my God, don't stop now!
With your hosts, Brian, John, and Elaine.
Welcome to the Cinema Psycho Show, the madhouse for film freaks and film fans of all types. I'm your host, Brian Kyneton, and my fellow co-host and filmmaker, John Woolscroft.
And the box office was gone in a flash.
Oh, I was wondering how you were going to come up with an ism, because I think that's what those are. Those are John-isms.
Yeah.
You know, every episode you end up coming out with one like that. And this one, yeah, that's pretty accurate. I think the DCEU gone up in a flash is more accurate.
Yeah.
David Zaslav's career gone up in a flash. Tainting James Gunn's tenure gone up in a flash.
Wait. Ezra did what? Oh, no.
Oh, crap.
Wait, what? They did what? Oh, no.
I got to tell you, John, I've been salivating at the chance to talk to you about this particular movie since I saw it last Monday.
Oh, I remember I had already seen it when we recorded our Stepfather episode, and you were like asking like something about the ending, and I was like, and we'll wait to get to that, but I'm like, just watch the movie.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did, because I had a reaction. I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you motherfucking kidding me? But yeah, no, we're on to episode 274, and this week we are talking The Flash, and I would love to say that this is our last time that we will ever talk about the DCEU and its failures, but it's Warner Brothers. You know they're gonna fuck themselves in the end anyway.
Well, there's still like Butt Beetle and Aquaman too.
I read an article that they had spent all together, when you combine Shazam, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and Aquaman 2 Electric Boogaloo, something to the realm of $1.9 billion when it comes to production and marketing.
Woof.
And I keep going like, that's insane, especially for movies that aren't going to see any return on investment ever. Yeah.
Well, for this episode, do we want to just can I just start by saying this movie is a complete and total lie from James Gunn?
Well, first of all, I don't think, and this is important to bring up. One, we are going to try really hard to get our pronouns right when it comes to Ezra Miller. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
We are very much cisgender men, and
we're old.
We're old, and we will
mistakes.
try really hard. Okay. And I will honestly try really hard to edit all of this. Okay. So I'm just pointing that right out.
And what Brian is saying is, if we goof and accidentally,
please don't cancel us.
It is not purposeful. We are completely respectful of that, but it's just when we're talking, sometimes it just the wrong pronoun comes out, and we mean no offense.
We mean no offense, even though I personally think that Ezra Miller should be in jail for their crimes, you know, like choking people and grooming and breaking and entering and robbery, you know, all sorts of fun stuff. You know,
how many crimes did they commit? Like,
I think once you get to like 2 or 3, it becomes a spree, and that's what I would describe it as Ezra Miller's crime spree.
And you know, the last thing I will ever do is have empathy for some billionaire executive at Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
but I could just see them wearing the same outfit for like 9 days in a row, having showered with a bottle like Pepto-Bismol, like what happened now? Oh God!
What do you mean, Ezra Miller? What do you mean, Ezra Miller got a fight at a karaoke bar? What do you mean he choked a fan? What do you mean he broke into a house to steal liquor? Like, what do you mean he groomed a 14-year-old?
Yeah.
The grooming the 14-year-old thing is an allegation. I will say that. Okay. The parents of that
allegedly
are
get out of jail free card. Allegedly.
Yeah. Okay. And we're not going to spend all the time talking about that because the real crime is on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, Brian, I'm so confused with this movie because it's part of me thought it was fun. The turn my brain off part. The logic part of me thinks that there's 1,000 things wrong with this movie, but then I'm also blinded by Michael Keaton being like my everything. Yeah, not just as Batman, but as human beings go.
He's Pittsburgh hero.
Yeah, Pittsburgh born and raised, baby. So I'm like, how much am I blinded by just seeing Michael Keaton's Batman again? I don't honestly know how I feel about this movie because it's 10 out of 10 Keats.
Oh yeah,
but like in terms of the rest of the movie, I'm like, okay, John, you were entertained, but it's stupid and it's riddled with plot holes. And how do I properly judge this movie with Ezra Miller in consideration? Do I judge the art and not the artist who is not only in every frame, but they are sometimes in it 3 times in one scene? That's difficult to watch a movie with a maniac in it.
It is very difficult, and it didn't have to be this way. Like I think I talked to you about this, and I had said that something to the effect of like when Kevin Spacey's allegations had come to light, what happened? They replaced him in the movie All the Money in the World. But they did.
Well, I'm going to fight you on that one though, because the thing is, Kevin Spacey was in that movie for maybe 15 minutes total. That is an easy enough handful of reshoots. Okay. Ezra Miller is in every single scene of this movie, sometimes 3 times.
Okay. Here's my retort to that.
Yeah.
This movie took 10 years to make. Here's the funny thing. Ezra Miller was announced to be the Flash when the first season of the Flash series premiered.
Yeah.
That was 10 years ago. It has taken 10 years to make this movie. Okay? So in that time, that's gone through a bunch of different directors, a bunch of different writers, eventually ended up with Andy Muschietti, or is that what I butchered his name? I'm sorry. You made an okay movie, but either way, Muschietti. Okay. In all that time and all that money spent, you're telling me that when you've got a movie about Barry Allen and your main character, they are the person who's front and center in this film, and you're going to think that despite all of the behind the scenes bullshit, all of the off screen stuff, that's okay, that we can just put the movie out and people won't care? I'm sorry. If I'm an executive at Warner Brothers, I'm going to go, this is not a good play. This is going to fail. And what happened? It failed. Now, I don't think that Ezra Miller is the only reason why this movie failed. I think they're a big part of it, a massive big part of it, because John, as you said, like, you're watching this movie and you see Ezra Miller on screen and you're just going like, well, they're there. When's Batman going to show up again? Because I really do not find them to be tasteful to watch.
Do we want to just like jump right out the gate on why we think this movie failed?
Well, I think the whole episode honestly is about that, John. Yeah. I think that's the main thing. Well, before we get into why this movie failed, I do want to pull up some amazing, these are glorious reviews from people that tried to sell us a bill of goods. Okay.
Are you saying that Warner Brothers paid off these people to say good things about the movie, bro?
I don't know. I'm saying that these people were either paid or drinking some kind of Kool-Aid.
Yakko, Wacko, and Doc give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. So I'll call these people out, and that's fine if they want to hate my guts. I don't care. So this is a review from The Rap's Humberto Gonzalez. He called it the greatest DC movie of all time. Here is his review. Believe the hype. Christopher Nolan movies aside, The Flash is the greatest DC movie over the last 30 years that belongs in some conversation as Superman 78 and Batman 89. The movie breaks incredible new ground in superhero cinema and honors DC lore of years past. No.
What ground did it break? At best, this is just a prototypical superhero movie.
Yes.
This isn't real. This is a more fun version of Black Adam. It's everything.
You know
else.
what? I had more fun watching Shazam.
Yeah.
Fury of the Gods. I did. Seriously. I went. It was a good Sunday afternoon. You know, I didn't have any emotional investment in any of the characters, but yeah, it was fun. Super. That's what this movie is. It's a goofy fucking movie. But the problem is we were told that this was the Avengers, and that's what this asshole's saying. Okay.
Yeah.
I got another one for you. Okay. So this is from Fandango's Eric Davis. DC's The Flash is tremendous. Forget DC. It's without a doubt among the best superhero films ever made. An all-timer, inventive storytelling, fantastic action sequences, great cast, so many nerdy details. I'm in tears at the end. Everything you want from a superhero film and more. I'm in tears at the end because I sat through 2.5 hours of bullshit.
Yeah. I didn't say what.
I added that last bit.
Yeah.
They didn't say that.
And you got to wonder, are these people just paid off or did they? Because there is a big difference between going to some premiere, say it's at one of the Comic Cons, like San Diego Comic Con, and seeing the movie with rabid people that are there for it, and they're all wearing Flash and Batman t-shirts, and they're all whooping and hollering at the right moments. Like that can kind of confuse your senses a little bit compared to if you see this movie in your hometown at like 2:30 on a rainy Wednesday.
Now, I'm glad you bring up about whether people are paid off or not. Because I can see that with the reviewers, you know, or it could be something to the effect of like they gave this movie a glowing review because they don't want to lose access to movies in the future. But this next one, I still scratch my head about why they decided to stick their nose in the shithole.
Okay.
This is from Stephen King, the author.
Oh, well, Stephen King has a history of having bad takes.
Here's his tweet about The Flash. I got an advanced screening of The Flash today. As a rule, I don't care a lot for superhero movies, but this one is special. It's heartfelt, funny, and eye-popping. I loved it. Come on, Stephen. Really?
Yeah. Well, he went, you know what? I only have like $2 billion. I could really use $100,000 from Warner Brothers.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess that might have been it. Or maybe like, you know, he's trying to pitch some new movie, you know, and Warner Brothers is like, you can get your movie deal if you give us a good tweet.
Well, I watch a lot of people on YouTube, and there's a guy named, his YouTube handle is V Infuso. And I mean, he's being pretty humble when he said, like, you know, like I got an advanced copy of this and I'm not famous. I'm not even YouTube famous.
Yeah.
But he's like, it was just Warner Brothers trying to give this movie to everyone and anyone that may get some good, you know, word of mouth about it. And he's like, I think they wanted me to say it's the greatest thing I've ever seen because I was so charmed by the fact that I got a copy of this movie with a watermark in the mail. Like, whoa, I'm important. Warner Brothers like loves me. I'm a big mover and shaker. And I think that they do that quite a bit where it's people almost feel obligated to say good things about the movie because Warner Brothers specifically sent you a copy of the movie, probably with a little swag bag too.
This last one here is one that part of me understands why they said this because it's their job. But the other part of me is going like, you just cut off part of your soul. And this is from James Gunn. Who is James Gunn, might you ask? Oh, he's just the new head of DC, the DC films.
He's a pedophile.
Yeah.
He's a pedophile.
Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, it's all right. If anybody's like, what the hell is John talking about? He had a bunch of old tweets.
He made jokes.
Republicans, tried to cancel him over.
Personally, I actually like James Gunn a lot. Like I dig him because he's a B movie maker first. Okay.
Well, and even in comic book movies, like everybody you might know him as the Guardians of the Galaxy guy, and those are the better Marvel movies.
And even like the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad,
which I liked a lot.
Yeah, I did too. But this is what made me like go like, all right, buddy, you're under corporate control now. He said one of the best superhero movies he's ever seen. Oh, buddy.
Well, I mean, those are his bosses. I mean, what do you want him to say? Don't go see this piece of crap.
No, well, here's the thing. James Gunn inherited this film. He wasn't there for its inception. He wasn't there for any of this stuff. So part of me understands why he is saying that because, as you said, his boss is saying, like, you have to say this is a good movie, that it's the greatest thing. Because I'm just thinking James Gunn would nowhere in his mind, who's made, like, The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, Guardians of the Galaxy, think that this right here is the best superhero movie he's ever seen.
Well, I had mentioned at the top of the episode that he lied as well. And when I say that he lied, it's because he said that this movie would reset the DCEU, which is absolutely not true.
You don't think it will?
No, everything that they did with this movie, they're scrapping it. I've read that. Like,
oh yeah, well, I think that's what he means by reset. Like it's not. I think you were thinking it was gonna we were gonna find out who the next Batman was, and then Superman. Because I never thought that.
Well, I think that let's go to Marvel and Spider-Man: No Way Home. I feel that movie legitimately reset Spider-Man, and now he's kind of more the Spider-Man that we know from the comics. Like, he's unknown, he doesn't have a billionaire like at his beck and call. He has this original suit without all the cool Stark things. Like, that movie did reset Spider-Man. This didn't reset anything. It's just one of a few handful of movies that are just floating out there until they just scrap everything and go from the ground up again.
Well, that's been the biggest problem with the DC films, honestly, is they've tried so hard to copy Marvel and they've just been aimless. You have a lot of people who are like, oh, well, the Snyderverse. And don't get me wrong, I respect what Zack Snyder tried to do, although I don't really care for his version of Batman. I do like his version of Superman, but that whole thing was you really didn't have any sort of cohesive line through it up until you saw Zack Snyder's Justice League. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the only time. That's the 11th hour that you're finally getting some cohesive line through it. And don't get me wrong, I think it'd be great to see, Dark Side and actually have an Avengers level thing. That would have been great. But at the same time, there's too much bad history with that whole scenario to go forward. And unfortunately, Gunn saying he's going to scrap everything makes it where people really aren't going to want to go out and see the next DC EU film if they know the stakes really don't fucking matter.
Yes.
Right?
Well, Brian, here's my biggest reason that I think that this movie absolutely collapsed. It's twofold, and both of these things actually don't have anything to do with Ezra Miller.
Okay.
I think one, I agree with you. I didn't like any of the Zack Snyder movies, but I liked that they brought somebody in that wanted to do his own vision and didn't just copy the Marvel template.
Yeah.
In a sense of like, they're light, we're dark. But can you really tell me that Batman v Superman and Shazam 2 are in the same universe?
No.
It's like Batman and Robin and Batman 89. Like, those are supposed to technically be the same universe, but fuck if they are. And I think that people are just like, I don't, they have been shown so many different tonalities in the DCEU that I think that they just got fatigued and bored with it. But then on top of that, the other part of this is, I think that even if they don't know all the ins and outs on what's going over at DC and Warner Brothers and HBO and all that, they know that like none of this is really going to matter soon. They're just going to restart everything. So why would I go see The Flash? It doesn't matter. Why would I go see Blue Beetle? It's not going to matter. This Flash movie had to put an end credit sequence to tell people, don't worry, Jason Momoa is still Aquaman because you like him. So go see Aquaman 2 because it still kind of sort of maybe counts.
Yeah.
So I think those two things are really what just killed this movie. It's like, why should I care? Because of you guys are just all over the place in terms of tonality and everything. But also, I know that there's stuff going on backstage, even if I don't know all the ins and outs. And this is all pointless in the end, anyways.
I mean, I agree with you. I think they totally shot themselves in the foot by announcing that they're scrapping everything. They announced that thing in what was it, like January or February?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the start of these movies being released, you have James Gunn who comes out and says, hey, guess what? Don't worry. We're scrapping everything and starting fresh. But you've just ruined any chance of box office sales with that, because as you said, no one's going to care. No one's going to care. They're not going to be like, I don't give a shit. Well,
James Gunn, I'm sorry. Yeah. James Gunn even had to come out and say like Blue Beetle is technically the first Marvel DC character, in this universe. It's not what he considers to be the first movie. He's considered like Superman, whatever.
It's a Superman, like, I don't know, new Superman, whatever.
But they probably took a look at the movie and said, okay, we didn't, there's no Henry Cavill cameo. There's no Gal Gadot cameo. So it's like, we can pass this off as its own standalone movie with a couple of reshoots. And it's not the first movie we want with the franchise, but we kind of have to say it is, because otherwise it would have been slaughtered at the box office.
Yeah.
Because why go see a movie that means nothing?
Do you think they anticipated that this thing was going to be terrible?
The Flash?
Yeah.
I think that they were putting all their cards in this being a huge success.
Do you really think so? Despite everything you just said, with the whole Ezra Miller stuff, and on top of that, them shooting themselves in the foot, saying that none of this stuff matters, you think they still thought this is going to be our silver bullet financially?
Well, Ezra's been crazy for quite a few years here, but it was not as bad. Like when I first heard Michael Keaton is absolutely coming back as Batman, I think Ezra had done only like 20 of his 300 crimes. So it wasn't as bad,
That's an exaggeration. We're not saying that they have done.
Yeah, that's humor. Yeah, I'm using humor to cope, but I think that it got worse and worse and worse. I think like when they had the movie in the can, and before editing, they probably thought, yeah, this one's gonna be huge. People love the character of the Flash, and it's got like all these references to other movies, and Michael Keaton's in it. Whoa, and so I think they really thought, oh, this is gonna be huge. But then, all the dominoes fell, and it was, oh no. And there's a huge problem when you can't have the star of your movie promote the movie.
That is a major issue there.
That's like Jim Carrey not promoting Cable Guy. Like, hey, Matthew Broderick, do it all by yourself.
I even saw that it was news that they showed up to the premiere. That was the news. Oh my God, did you see Ezra Miller showed up to the premiere of The Flash? It's their movie. that they're showing up to.
Yeah.
That's the news. That's not good. I don't care what anyone says, because it's always this old adage that there's no such thing as bad press. No, I'm sorry. When your main actor has that much baggage on them, there's no amount of old adage of, oh, it's no such thing as bad press, it's all good. I'm sorry. Because people are going to just turn off. They're just going to be like, I'm not going. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to spend my money. And let me tell you something, John. Like, when I went to the theater, I was surprised how empty it was.
I had a decent house, far from a sellout by any stretch. But
This was maybe a couple of days after. So we had gone on last Monday, and the film had come out on Friday. So I was totally expecting there to still be people because, one, it was a holiday weekend. So I'm like, oh yeah, people will go to see The Flash. And honestly, it was sparse,
Yeah.
and I mean, I think the other thing too, and we're not really talking about this factor, is that movies are expensive to see.
Yeah.
When people don't have a whole shit ton of money, they're not going to spend it on a movie with a main actor who's got, a couple pending, criminal trials. And on top of that, really bad press. So, I think that's the other part of it too, is just people aren't spending money on things when they're trying to scrape by just to live every day.
Yeah. And it's the old, this economy comment, but it's true. No,
it's true.
It's that this movie is tucked in with Spider-Man, Multiverse 2, and then and then you got the Indiana Jones movie coming out, which I also expect to be a bomb. But maybe some people who just love Harrison Ford or Indy are gonna well, let's save our money for that one because I haven't heard any creepy stuff about Harrison Ford. Let's go spend our money on the Indiana Jones movie instead of the Flash movie.
Yeah,
because you made the point, Brian. This would be like if something came out about Tobey Maguire right before Spider-Man came out, or Hugh Jackman before one of the Wolverine or X-Men movies came out. It's not like, say, if we heard bad shit about Jeremy Renner before the Avengers came out, because it's well, he's kind of the least important Avenger, and maybe people will ignore it when he's on screen and not really focus on him because they're really there for, Captain America and Iron Man and stuff. So when the movie's called The Flash,
yes, that's my point here. Is just it's hard to look Warner Brothers in the eye and say, "Oh, you guys tried." You knew exactly what you were going to get into. You knew it. And I also think that it shows on screen too, because I think that there was a point where Warner Brothers said, we're not spending any more money on this fucking thing, and where I saw that at was in the VFX.
Oh my God. I was wondering how long it would take you to bring.
Well, there's a lot to unpack for this movie, so it's going to take a while.
Before you go into detail, the director has, and some may call bullshit, said that it was purposely bad looking.
Yeah, fuck him. I don't care. And I know that he is full of shit. Full of fucking shit. Here's the real reason. I said this on a comment on TikTok. Okay, I said this to someone who was reviewing The Flash, and I mentioned the same thing. And I broke it down. Here's the reason why the VFX look like crap. Okay, the suits in Warner Brothers saw that they're spending a shit ton of money over the course of 10 years in this fucking movie. Okay, they reached the point where they're like, we're not spending any more money on this thing. They had to do reshoots, which that's expensive. Okay, you had to add in a post-credit scene. You had to add in the end credit scene. So you've got all this stuff. You also realize that you have to dump more money into marketing this turd, because your main actor is a criminal and went on a crime spree after production.
I feel bad for Michael Keaton. The guy had to do double press.
Okay. So if you've got all of this and you're like, I got a choice here between spending more money on the visual effects for a superhero movie or spending more money on press screeners and sending out stuff and more billboards and more Michael Keaton interviews and spending more to juice this marketing turd, you're going to spend more on the juicing the marketing turd. And you're going to get the director, the poor director, and basically put them in a bad light and make them look like an idiot when they're in interviews and have to say, oh, yeah, that bad visual effects that look like PlayStation 2 graphics, that's on purpose.
Brian, give it early PlayStation 3.
Oh, well, I'm not saying early PlayStation. I'm saying PlayStation 2.
Early PlayStation 3.
Oh, really? You're a very nice person.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying. This was absolutely a financial decision. They didn't want to spend any more money and any more time on polishing a turd when they have to spend all of that time and money on marketing this film.
Well, I could understand that. I don't believe him, but I could understand
I don't believe
the director
says
when Flash is in, and I know this is a Marvel word, but I can't remember the name in the quantum realm.
It is not the good choice. No, it's the Speed Force.
Yeah, okay, when he's in the Speed Force, I can understand him trying to claim like, oh, everything's distorted, blah blah blah. I don't believe it, but I understand it. I want to see him justify the babies.
Yes.
And this movie opens with Batman being like, hey, Flash, I didn't want you, but you got to go save this hospital because I'm chasing somebody that stole something from Wayne Tech. And so Flash is there, and the building starts to collapse, and all these babies fall out the window. And it goes into this like, ridiculous scene of Flash like climbing up debris using his super speed. And in a reference of something that is never brought up again, like you don't show something if there's no payoff, is that Flash now has like a calorie thing. And if his calories get too low, he can't be the Flash. He's got to eat. And they always say your opening scene should set the tone for the rest of your movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the tone of this movie is comical farce, grabbing babies, putting them in microwaves, eating burritos, eating candy bars, saving a dog that's trying to eat mustard. This reminds me of the beginning of Superman 3 when Richard Linklater no longer had to try to mimic Richard Donner.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm just going to make A Hard Day's Night, but with Superman. And in the first 5 minutes of that movie, people went, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And I think that some people probably went, oh, this movie is going to be incredibly stupid because this guy is saving computer-generated babies and eating burritos. There's going to be no stakes. This is going to be dumb.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and my favorite are that the babies literally look like the dancing baby from Ally McBeal. That is dating me like a lot, but that is what went through my head when I saw these nightmares on screen.
If we do have any young people listening to this, Ally McBeal was a show on Fox in the 1990s.
Yes. and there was a major, like it was at least a summer of people obsessed with a dancing computer generated baby.
Yeah, because she really wanted to have a kid. Yeah.
Yes, it was everywhere. And here's the thing. These babies in The Flash look just like it. They do. 100%. I mean, here's the thing, John. I didn't have a problem so much with the comedy in this. And maybe it's because of the fact that whenever I'd seen Ezra Miller in previous versions of The Flash, they were extremely grating. Mm-hmm. And like, I really wanted to like punch the Flash in the face every time they said a word. It was that level of annoying. In this, they actually were not as annoying comically.
Well,
compared to
older Flash was.
Yeah, older Flash was not.
Younger
Flash was an idiot.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I know this whole episode is not just why did this movie fail, but it can't even be blamed on word of mouth because the first weekend before anybody had seen it outside Stephen King and some paid off guy reviewer from Warner Brothers, like it bombed its opening weekend. So this isn't hey, don't go see it. The graphics are really bad and and the payoff at the end isn't very good. Don't go see this. Oh, thanks for helping me save my money, Dave. It's like no, it bombed right away. So it's not a word of mouth thing.
No, it managed to do that all on its own. The VFX were some of the worst that I'd seen in any superhero movie. Like even Black Panther was bad. Like the ending fight in Black Panther was terrible. But this one was just another level of bad.
Well, I go back, and I think this may be for all of our listeners that have listened from the beginning. Tell me, this is my 95th reference to Jurassic Park. If it is,
it might be.
Let me know. But just that movie is from 1993. It just had its 30th anniversary, and that movie holds up because they didn't just think they could do everything in a computer.
Well, the other reason too, and this is something that has become more prominent nowadays with superhero films, is that the economics of how VFX houses actually do the work for these superhero films is very much slanted to churn out as many VFX shots as possible at the expense of VFX artists being burnt the fuck out.
Yes.
Not having enough time to do the job properly. Okay. And basically a competitive nature in which, the VFX artist is no longer lauded for their artistry, but just thought of as a, factory making tool.
Yeah. Do your monkey work, monkeys.
Yeah. Where you're
peanuts.
expected to do, 120 hours a week and no pay or low pay and come in on weekends and stay nights late. And, oh yeah, you might be doing this one. If you don't like it, we'll get the fuck out. And that's, I really think, part of it. I think that we're seeing part of that. Now, what does that mean? It means that maybe, we don't get a new superhero movie every year, and that, like, personally for me, I'm fine with not having a new superhero movie every year. If it means that artists don't have to, eat out of a dog food dish at 2:00 in the morning at the studio because they have to render out, 50 rotoscoping shots. But I really think that's part of why we're seeing these things as terrible, is the economics of VFX when it comes to superhero films is really punishing the VFX artists to the point where they're not able to compete with the amount of work needed. And they just can't get it done.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. But I think it probably also even comes from a screenwriting or producer level of like, oh, wow, this seems like one of the most complicated scenes we could have ever imagined in one of these movies. And they go, that special effects idiots will do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, if you're just shooting everything against a green screen, just expecting, oh, well, the wizardry in the computer can do all of it, then yeah, you're not helping yourself. You're exactly right. Jurassic Park, the reason why it holds up is because it was a combination of the two. Well, it was a combination of
robotics, camera trickery, and CGI.
Yeah. It was a combination of the two. But aside from the VFX, okay, one of the other things that I didn't think made this movie work at all was just the overall plot.
Yeah,
the plot was just paper thin.
Well, the thing is, it was simultaneously paper thin and convoluted as hell. Like, I thought to myself, I should probably see this movie for the time travel explanation like once more before the show. But I'm like, I also just don't want to. So I apologize, audience.
Oh, I got the time travel explanation thing. That actually made way more sense to me than not the Doctor Strange, but it was the Hulk talking to the Ancient One in Avengers Endgame. That Michael Keaton has a way of making things explained well.
And I know that Bruce Wayne is a brilliant like scientist and all that, but just like, God, Batman's a Mary Sue. And he's like, yeah, well, when you're talking about time travel, and he's like using all this pasta. I'm like, is there anything Bruce Wayne can't do?
No, there isn't. Not this version, not Michael Keaton version. Bruce Wayne, he can do all things.
And he can make his like penis like detract too. He's like, he pulls out his 15-inch cock. She's like, that's too big for me. He's like, don't worry. What do you want? 8? She goes, yeah, sure. I'm Batman.
Oh, that's what he screams when he's coming. I'm Batman.
You're what?
You what? Nothing. I'm billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne.
This is forget Batgasts.
Yeah, but I mean, I got the whole time travel thing that if you make an issue, if you change something, then you're not just changing the future, you're changing the past. I got all that. I'm also not convinced that this Michael Keaton Batman is our Michael Keaton Batman from the 89 film.
Right, because there's like infinite amounts of different versions of different people, and they sometimes look the same, sometimes look different. It's cheap. I'm sorry, but multiverse and time travel are ways the comic book writers got themselves out of jams. That's all it is. It's not for creative purposes. It's, oh, hey, we killed that character off. Well, let's multiverse it, or oh, we want to do like a standalone Batman comic where he dies or something. Oh, well, it's a multiverse thing. It's not the real Batman. It's not canon. It's just it's a writing crutch. That's all this multiverse crap is.
In this regard, when it comes to films, what we've seen is that the multiverse has been more or less a nostalgia bait, right? Mm-hmm. How many times can I fit nostalgia into a movie? Oh, yeah, Tobey Maguire's Super Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Well, what would happen if they're in the multiverse, right? Where we can get all of them. That way we triple our nostalgia.
We could show Patrick Stewart as Xavier again.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what they're all doing. It's no longer a how can I get this character, who maybe died to show back up again. It's, well, how can I get this character that maybe was popular 10, 20, 15 years ago and somehow make it work with whatever bullshit continuity I've already come up with?
Well, Brian, let me ask you a question. And I think
that's me being very cynical, by the way.
Yes. Well, this I think is the most probing question, and I don't care if it's Marvel or DC or if Image somehow starts making movies, whatever comic book is. If there are multiverses and there are nearly unlimited versions of every character, does that not take the stakes out of everything?
Yes and no. Yes and no. And here's why I say yes and no.
Well, can I interject real quick?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'll just say, when I see like Spider-Man 2 and I see Tobey Maguire trying to stop that, subway train, I'm like, oh, what do I care? There's 4 million more of him. But anyways, go on. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, in its current iteration, the way we're seeing it on screen, yes, it absolutely does remove every stake from any movie that dives into it. Okay. Where I have seen it work well is, surprisingly enough, on the Flash TV series.
I've heard this. I have not seen the show, but I have heard that. You're not the first person that I've heard.
That is where I've seen it work well. First of all, the whole idea of Flashpoint and multiverses like colliding, that's not a new thing to media. We've seen that before in the Flash series, which I haven't watched any of the more recent seasons. I know it's now ended. And honestly, like, I just kind of lost interest, and honestly, the series itself started to really go downhill. But at its peak, it had tackled the concept of the multiverse, and it actually did it really well. There even is a Michael Keaton 89 universe where you literally have Alexander Knox show up, and it's called Earth 89. That's Michael Keaton Batman's Earth. And there's a newspaper with Michael Keaton and Selena Kyle right there about them getting married. So they tackled it in a way where the incident that's happening, I haven't seen it in so long, but the incident being happening ultimately meant that the individual universes are honestly colliding, and the end result of it is the multiverse doesn't exist anymore. That's where I've seen it work.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? When the threat of all those different versions that no longer being there, that's the only existential threat you can have with the multiverse. Whatever you're going to do is going to destroy all of it. And that actually does happen. Like, that's like, well, what do you do now?
Yeah. It makes me think, let's talk about another time travel movie. Let's talk about Back to the Future 2.
Classic.
And somebody might have a problem with, they say it's not as good as Back to the Future, but one thing you can't say is that there's ever a point that you're confused narratively on what is happening. And Doc breaks it off. He's like, this is just a branch timeline. Let's go back in time and stop this branch timeline from ever happening, and we'll fix it. And they do.
Yes.
It's like it's very clear cut and dry. This is kind of just a mess, and it's like, wait, Zod's there, and he already killed Superman, and there's also a super girl who we didn't know existed until this movie, and what? And wait, and Batman doesn't look like Ben Affleck, but they all have Alfreds, and so they can look different, but yet Flash looks like himself. And Aquaman looks like himself, but Batman looks different than Batman.
Well, Aquaman doesn't exist in that. Aquaman's a dog.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like, but Batman's a lady now. When he was a feller before, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Well, I do want to talk about Batman in this.
Which one?
Michael Keaton.
Okay,
the only one that matters.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I did like that opening action sequence with Ben Affleck. That was tight.
I hate his fucking costume. I'll tell you that, right?
Oh, with the blue and that's his motorcycle outfit.
Well, not even just that. Like I'm seeing that they got lazy on these costumes because you can see like up their nose now. Did you notice that? Like
not
every
really.
every time Batman's had a cowl on, it's always like covered their nose to a point where you'd see little slits where the nose is at. And I noticed that in this one, this is the first time that I've ever seen the nose exposed. Now that's a little thing, but I'm just like, it looks goofy.
Yeah.
You know? But no, I want to talk about Michael Keaton as Batman. Okay. This was, for me, and I think, John, for you, the highlight of the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if I'm blinded by it or...
I'll answer for you. I was blinded by it. Yeah. I know every time he came on, I was just like, it's 1990 all over again.
I mean, couldn't they, but I know this is really picky, but couldn't they have just given him the Batman Returns bat suit? That bat outfit made him look fat. The bulky armor made him look chunky.
Yeah. Well, that douche version of Ezra Miller had to take a perfectly good Batman Returns outfit and butcher it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, John, but were you watching that and going like, you fucking asshole?
Oh,
you're
absolutely.
Ruining a perfectly good suit.
Absolutely. But I did understand that like they probably, I don't know if the different like studios watch each other's stuff, but
yeah,
I wonder if the DC guys watched like Far From Home and went, okay, nobody has any idea which Spider-Man is who at the end of that movie.
Yeah.
So like maybe it's like, okay, if he makes this really goofy Flash outfit, you won't like be confused on which Flash is which. I don't know.
I went with, why couldn't they just, I don't know, grab garbage bags and wear some garbage bags?
Or Batman can be like, hey, I got a red bat outfit that I haven't put ears on yet.
You can wear that. Ears on yet.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm Batman.
Alfred.
I have a retractable penis.
Yeah, Alfred used to put the ears on, and then I would pay him in my retractable penis.
But I just got to say, like, I liked everything that Michael Keaton did in this, but I also believe that there's no way in hell that this Batman could go up against space aliens ever. I
agree with you, but I think there were only a few scenes that like were egregious in that sense, but I kind of loved them at the same time. When like Batman is putting high-powered explosives on one of Zod's goons, I'm like, fuck yeah, it doesn't matter that he's human, he's motherfucking Michael Keaton Batman. I'm like jizzing in the theater, it's like, well, you need some more butter for your popcorn, so yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was blinded, Brian. I was blinded.
John, I'm sorry. He's 70 years old.
Yeah, and he can kick ass more now than he could
he absolutely can
20
kick
years
ass.
ago. Yeah.
He absolutely can kick ass. And this is not a slight against Michael Keaton at all and his Batman. I love his Batman. He is my Batman. Okay, and I know he's your Batman too.
Yeah.
Okay, but that Batman is suited for crazed villains, not super villains. Like he's not going up against General Zod. Okay,
right.
He's not going up against a Kryptonian. All right. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense to me. And that's also why I say, like, this Batman isn't the same Batman from 1989. This is a different variant. I also did find it hilarious that since this is the only Batman that doesn't give a shit about killing, that his Gotham City has no crime anymore. Did you catch that?
Yeah, it's kind of like, that argument, did Joe Jackson beat greatness into the Jackson 5? Like, Batman just went on a murder spree in Gotham until it was a great place to live.
Like, he said, he's like, oh, yeah, they didn't need me anymore. Gotham is the cleanest city ever. And it's like, really? Your version of Gotham is the cleanest city ever? I wonder why that could be. Could it be because of the fact that you had no problem strapping explosives to clowns and...
Shove an explosive up a clown's ass and throw him in a sewer. Yeah.
And you're just like, you know what? I've got a bomb. I'm going to blow up this penguin guy. I don't give a flying fuck. I'm just like, wow, he's the only one who got results.
I did at first. I was like, I hated the intro. I'm like, oh, he's like got this long hair and this beard and all that. But I'm like, this actually adds up for me. Like when I thought about it, because. And I know that, and Brian, I know your logic reason for hating the opening of Batman Returns. I love it for the symbolic reason of it, with the lights at Wayne Manor and everything.
Hate that shit.
Is that the idea, though, is that Bruce Wayne is just sitting in darkness, just waiting to be who he really is. Bruce Wayne is the secret identity. Batman is the real person.
Yeah.
He's just waiting for that signal to go off. And the only chance he has to live a better life is with Selina Kyle. And she absolutely destroys that. And we realize by the end of Batman Returns that the Gotham City will never not need Batman. And I still stand by the script's ending that doesn't have Catwoman somehow in her perfect cowl, is that the bat signal goes off and the juice running the bat signal runs out. And I know that is a very nihilistic ending to that movie, but that's still in my mind how the movie really ends. And, he'll always need to be Batman. But apparently in 20 years, he done figured it out where now it's like super nice to live there. I don't know.
It's yeah. We wouldn't know because we never saw Gotham. Because apparently Andy Muschietti said it was too hard with too many hats to try to replicate Tim Burton's Gotham.
Well, Anton Fierce is a genius, though.
Anton Fierce was a genius. He passed away.
Yeah. And he's for people don't know, he's the guy that did all the set designs and miniatures and everything for Batman 89.
Yeah, but I like to think that the real version of Michael Keaton's Batman did end up with Selina Kyle. In my mind. So
with her
like
torched up face?
What was that?
With her torched up face?
She has like 9 lives. They have one last life. You don't know.
Oh, yeah. She saved that last one for next Christmas.
Sure. There you go. Okay. I like to think that because I think, Batman, and again, I didn't mean for this to be a Batman episode, but he is.
This is Batman 3. That's what
it's Batman Returns again.
Batman Continues, which Batman is what continues. Tim Burton wanted to call Batman 3.
Yeah. But I like to think that if Batman is able to finally make Gotham clean and
make Gotham great again,
that maybe he actually does get to settle down and rest a bit. So I always
that's the
like
worst
the
thing
idea.
On the planet for him, though. And especially since Alfred died, that's why he's just living in squalor.
Well, yeah, and yeah. I get it. I get why it's in this, and I don't have a problem with it. I find it hilarious that he's become this hippie living in. I'm like, dude, you're kind of the opposite of that, but okay.
No, I think he's more like Howard Hughes. He just
oh yeah, no, yeah. I got that vibe, but he kind of looks like a hippie, he's wearing sandals.
Yeah. Well, it's probably because Alfred knew where all his shoes were, and the house is like the size of 50 houses, so he doesn't know where his closet with the shoes are.
Yeah, I found it funny that the fight didn't happen. Oh, I found it funny the fight didn't happen on that massive dining room table.
Yeah,
that would have been hilarious if that massive table in the first movie, they're fighting. Hey, you over there!
It was more of the intimate kitchen area that was right outside Alfred's room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The one where he's talking about how, he's grabbed him like a sack of old potatoes, covered in mud, nursing his sprained ankle.
Yeah. That was his first and last riding lesson.
Yeah.
Now go have sex. I'll tidy up.
Oh, okay. I did want to talk one more thing about this movie, and that was the whole relationship between Barry Allen and his mother. What were your thoughts on it, John?
Well, I don't mean to diverge a little bit, but and I guess huge spoilers at this point. Spoiler. If you're still in it, I mean, we've done a lot of spoilers, but in the movie, in the original timeline, Ron Livingston, I don't remember Barry Allen's father's name, but it's the actor
Henry Allen.
He has to go to the store because she needs another can of tomatoes. And when he gets home, she's been murdered. And, he runs over to her and tells little Barry to call 911, and he's holding the bloody knife. He's getting blood on himself. And so they think that he's the one who did it. In the end of the movie, also taking away the stakes of the entire movie, because he just goes back in time and undoes everything, meaning the entire movie never really happened, was superfluous.
Yes.
Is that he allows his mother to die, and it's like, oh wow, that's heavy, that's deep, wow, that's really impactful. But in the movie, Ron Livingston Henry's alibi is that he was at the grocery store, but the thing is, he never looks up on the security footage, and so the Flash, apparently not actually learning anything and having zero arc,
he didn't learn shit.
Puts the cans on the top shelf, so his dad has to look up, which gets, his dad, off the hook and everything. But the problem is that the movie shows that he pulls into the driveway, hears screaming, runs into the house, sees his wife murdered, and goes, oh, hey, little Flash, go call 911. And so he still could have done the murder by the timeline. Him being at the grocery store proves nothing.
Okay, Columbo.
I'm just saying, it's not like he came home 3 hours later and be like, boy, you wouldn't believe the line at Costco.
I love how you've completely undercut the only heroic moment in the whole movie. He totally still could have killed his wife.
He could if he wanted to, yeah.
You do know in the comics that's not exactly what happens, right?
Well, I'm going by this movie, damn it.
Okay,
I know. I've read Flashpoint. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, it's Reverse Flash who's the one who actually killed Barry Allen's mother.
And I wanted, Mustard Flash.
Mustard Flash, yes.
I wanted Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne Batman.
That was originally going to be the plan.
Oh, that would have been cool.
That was originally going to be the plan. Yeah, no, you're not, I'm not bullshitting you. That actually was going to be the plan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan has said that he was going to be the Thomas Wayne version of Batman, but that Michael Keaton stole his job. So, sorry, I like Michael Keaton.
Yeah,
but
sorry, comedian.
Sorry, comedian.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with the main crux being trying to save your mom, and the moment towards the end, and this is spoilery, where Barry does literally have to kill his mother, which in essence, that's what he's doing by undoing what he had done in the beginning of the movie. He, in essence, is responsible for killing his mother by not fixing it. Although, as you said, John, he does end up screwing it up even more.
I mean, he doesn't essentially kill his mother. He just allows his mother to die.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He kind of does kill his mother. So that scene for me was a bright spot in this film, because you could definitely tell that there is some emotional punch to it, and it's not just bang bang whiz whiz explodey stuff in the sky. So that part I bought, and I got it, and I understood what was going on, and it definitely did. I did have some feels over it. And funny, would have been nice to maybe have that consideration throughout the rest of the movie.
That was the thing. Sometimes I felt And I'm okay with comedy in these movies. I like a balance. Like,
Yeah.
I do think the Marvel movies have just basically turned into full blown Benny Hill comedies, and that kind of drives me nuts. But it's just a balance between drama and comedy. And there were times where I thought this movie nailed it on the comedy, and then there were times where I rolled my eyes. I'll give 2 examples.
Okay.
When Batman's describing how time travel works, and he's like using the pasta he just cooked, and then he throws the pasta sauce on it as part of, like, you know, the metaphor that he's making, and then he starts grabbing this giant, like, $300 thing of Parmesan cheese, and he's scraping it onto the pasta, you know, to kind of finish off the dish. Like, young Barry's like, well, what is the pasta? What is that a metaphor for? And, like, you know, older Barry's like, I think that's over now. Like, he's just adding cheese there. I'm like, that's funny.
Yes.
But the scene where the reporter lady who he went to high school with comes to his place, and he does like the flash thing where he cleans his place in like a split second. And she goes, wow, I didn't think your apartment would be this clean. He goes, well, you know, I'm not your typical kind of guy, and puts his arm in the wall, and like all the dishes fall out of the little closet pantry. I'm like, that's like sitcom humor. I'm like, that I rolled my eyes pretty deep.
There was a ton of sitcom humor in this.
So I think it was like 50-50. Like 50% of the time, I think the humor really hit its mark, and 50% of the time, I'm like, oh God, you know.
I think when we're in the other universe and we see young Barry with his bizarro roommates, that scene I actually thought was funny.
Yeah, because that
was funny roommate comedy. Like I liked that, but then there, as you said, like there were just some very cringe. I think that's the word that the young people use now. Cringe, very cringe comedy moments in this. What was a real cringe moment for me was Michael Shannon as Zod. Like, man.
Can we even say that was Michael Shannon? Because I think he had an out-of-body experience. He was not there.
I've never seen a character actor just phone a fucking performance in like Michael Shannon and Zod. And you could tell that he was just, I don't want to fucking be here.
Yeah. But you know what? Just like Michael Caine in Jaws 4, he had to pay off that boat, you know?
Yeah. Had to pay off the boat. But yeah, Michael Shannon's Zod, supposed to be the big bad of this movie. Not really. He's just there to say that he killed Superman as a baby and get punched. That's it.
I don't even think he was supposed to be the big bad. I mean, yes, technically, but I think he was just supposed to be the obstacle to let the narrative continue.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know,
I guess you could say the big bad movie was Black Flash.
Well, I think, just Flash in general. I think he is the villain and hero of the movie, and maybe that's a problem.
And we didn't talk yet about Supergirl. Do you want to talk a little bit about Supergirl?
Yeah, I thought she was fine. You know,
the actress is really good. I liked her. For me at least, I felt that she wasn't given enough to do.
Oh God, no. It was kind of like, you know, and I saw people online mention this, so it's not. This isn't like an original idea from me, but like, hey, Batman, will you help us? No. 5 minutes later, yes. It's like, hey, Supergirl, will you help us? No. 5 minutes later, yes. And I think something was cut out of this movie.
There absolutely must have been,
because she was like,
about.
She's like, yeah, you humans aren't worth saving. I'm gonna go see what Zod's up to, and Zod just like kills a human being, and she goes, no. It's like, wait, I thought you said human beings weren't worth saving, but now you're gonna come back and help them. Like, something was drastically cut out of this.
Well,
movie.
I think that, and I wonder what would happen if this was in there. I really do think that there was some kind of relationship that was supposed to kind of grow between young Barry and Supergirl, because, again, spoilers for this movie, but I mean, if you're, an hour in to this episode, you should probably know that. But the whole impetus for the ending of this movie, the whole climax of the film being that Black Flash actually is young Barry, who had tried to time travel so many times and kept getting, failure after failure after failure after failure to save Supergirl and Batman, that there must be some reason why he keeps doing that. And it's hinted at in the earlier in the movie when they're in the Batwing and young Barry's taking a picture of Supergirl and he's going like, "Oh yeah, this is for, you know, our children.
Kids. Yeah, our kids will want to see this. Yeah.
Our kids are going to want to see this." And I'm really getting that there must have been some scene or a couple scenes in there where it's hinting that there is a potential interest between Supergirl and young Barry. And for whatever reason, they decided to cut that. But when doing so, it really negates any of that emotional impact of why they're doing what they're doing at the end of the movie.
Because he's impulsive, Brian.
That's not enough.
I know.
That's just not enough. And
especially since Barry Allen, like young Barry Allen, is this selfish, self-absorbed, idiotic, sheltered twat who only had his powers for like 3 days, but then it's like, no, I have to be this great hero. It's like, you've had these powers for 3 days and you've been a moron the entire time.
Yeah, totally. I saw this in the film and I immediately knew that I had to ask you about it.
Okay.
What did you think of Nicolas Cage as Superman?
I fucking loved it. But
I saw the giant fucking spider and I'm like, oh my God, John must be jizzing in his pants right now.
But the amount of time that they gave to it, I imagine the average fan who's not like an uber dork like you and I, like,
yeah,
we're probably like, what the fuck is that? You know, like, you know, obviously for all those that have heard like Kevin Smith talk about, you know, his and the Tim Burton, the rewrite he did for Tim Burton's Superman script that never came to be. Like for us, we're like, ha 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 ha. But like, I don't know if you should just cater to like the super uber fans. Like,
yeah.
Like I bet most people in the audience who are like, what is that? Wait, is that Nick fucking Cage? Like what the hell's going on?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was more or less like the fact that Nicolas Cage was fighting a giant fucking spider. And I'm just like, oh my God. This is the closest you'll ever get to seeing it on actual film.
And I know that like I should just laugh at that and not think too analytically about it, especially in a movie like this. But every other version of the character was actually something that had been put on screen.
Yeah.
Technically, Nick Cage's Superman does not fucking exist. So
True.
it's like, you know, like, oh, we got horrible CGI Christopher Reeves and horrible CGI Supergirl and horrible CGI, you know, George Reeves, who, you know, killed himself. Classy, guys. Thank you for
very
putting
classy.
that on there. But yeah.
Well, Nicolas Cage was horrible CGI too, right? Like they all were.
Well, I think actually, from what I heard, Nick Cage came on to do like whatever green. Brian, you'd probably know more about this, but like just some green screen stuff, like to get face capture.
Yeah.
And like apparently they were like he was like all about it. He was just so fucking pumped to be there, you know. So he was there probably for like 9 hours, and they got everything they needed to do the CGI.
But either way, like for me, his face looked weird, just like all of the CGI characters in that particular scene looked fucking weird.
I almost laughed when I saw Christopher Reeve, and I apologize to the Alan Slater. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know the actress that played Super. I'm like, he looked terrible.
Yeah, they all look like waxy dolls.
And the thing is, like, I know Grand Moff Tarkin in Rouge One did not look great.
No, we trashed that one.
But that was like 5 years ago or whatever the hell it was, maybe less than that. But the thing is, that looked 10 times more believable than a 3-second Christopher Reeves, you know, digital drop in. I'm
telling you, John. They did not want to spend any more money or time on this movie than they had to. They all went to marketing. It's polishing a turd. That's what they did.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they probably figured, well, once we get the idiots in the theater, who cares if the effects look bad?
Yeah. No, that was 100% it. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like, I remember hearing from people who had seen it at CinemaCon. and they had come back and said like, oh yeah, it's a great movie, and I look forward to them finishing the effects, and they never finished the effects. The effects they saw at CinemaCon were the same effects in the final print.
And that reminds me, Brian, we to give our audience a little background on us. When we were in grad school, we went to this thing in Boston. This cinema, digital tech, whatever you want to call it thing. But it was at the same time, unfortunately, Brian and I were not in the Heinz Field scene of Dark Knight Rises because we were in Boston at the time.
We were in Boston at the time. We were at no. We weren't in Boston. We were at Cleveland. We're in Boston.
Well, irregardless, let's not argue. Let's not bicker like an old married couple.
Yeah.
We were not in Pittsburgh when they did the Heinz Field scene.
That's correct.
And I remember talking to our buddy Grant in grad school. He's like, "Oh man, it was crazy because the Bane was doing this voice like, and he's like, man, I don't know what the final voice is going to be, but man, we were laughing so hard, thinking like, why is he doing that stupid voice? And then that was the fucking voice of the final movie.
Yeah, yeah. That's the thing is when you don't want to spend any more time on a turd of a film, this is what you're left with. You're left with shitty VFX, and you're left with a director who unfortunately has to look like a fucking idiot in interview after interview after interview, trying to justify why the effects look like crap. And I'm sure that the people who really love The Flash will say, you just don't get it. You don't understand the lore. No, you're right. I don't understand all the lore. Why? Because I'm a Batman fan first, not a Flash fan.
Well, my DC comic fandom, my two favorites growing up were Batman and Flash.
There you go.
And I'm like, just because I loved Flash as a kid does not mean this movie doesn't have a whole hell of a lot of problems.
Yeah. I hate Batman and Robin, but I love Batman, the character.
Yeah, exactly. Just because the character you love is in it doesn't mean it can't be shite.
And speaking of Batman and Robin,
I was gonna say, are we gonna wrap it up?
We gotta wrap on this one, man. We gotta wrap on this one, okay? Yeah. So the minute that I saw George Clooney come out as Bruce Wayne, I literally was just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, this is huge reshoots too, right?
Oh, absolutely. From what I understand, that scene didn't exist. Well,
in the original version, and for anybody that doesn't know, they did a Batgirl TV, streaming show.
It was a movie.
TV.
It was a movie.
Yeah, a movie.
Yeah, it was a movie.
That had Michael Keaton in it. And then when HBO became like the Max and all this corporate horse shit, they decided not to release this finished movie for a huge tax write-off.
It was massive tax. And honestly, like I've seen people who've said like they should put it out in public domain so they can avoid that.
Yeah. Well,
but
they're not going to do that. They can't make any money off it. But
right.
Originally, it was supposed to be Michael Keaton and Batgirl step out of the limousine, and Flash goes, and then it ends. But then it's supposed to pay off later, and you're supposed to really they're going to explain how the time travel did this, blah 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 blah. And Michael Keaton is supposed to be like the overseer or elder Batman of the universe.
Yeah,
and all the different multiverse stuff,
which I'm cool with. I'm totally cool with that.
But that's fine, because they get more Michael Keaton. But then they just went, well, since we're scrapping everything because James Gunn wants to like redo everything, we're just going to throw in George Clooney and go, ha, 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 fuck you, idiots.
That literally was a fuck you, idiots moment.
Because there is a bad joke payoff where older Barry loses a tooth and for some reason glues it into his mouth.
It was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
And at the end, when he sees George Clooney's Batman, he goes, boo, a wide mouth, and the tooth falls out, the payoff of the tooth joke. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you get a sense that in this universe, Bruce Wayne is not Batman?
Yes, I did get that sense.
Yeah, like George Clooney is just Bruce Wayne, and he never became Batman.
Yeah, because he kind of acts like, what are you talking about?
And why pay off or rather not pay off. Why set something up, the polar opposite, that you're never going to pay off?
Right. Because there's no way in hell that George Clooney would ever decide to be Batman again.
It reminds me of like when Alf, like when the government found him, and they're like, tune in next season to Alf to find out how he gets out of this. And it's like, oh, we canceled Alf. Never mind.
That's because next season Alf is dead.
Yeah. They absolutely ripped him to shreds in a
Alf
government lab.
is in a petri dish. Okay. Next to the alien from Independence Day being operated on by Dr. Oaken. Okay. When I saw that, I immediately was just like, oh, are you fucking kidding me? Like, really?
I think they wanted to end the movie with like, either end the movie on a laugh or a jump scare, right? Like depending on the type of movie you're making. And so it's like, let's end it on a laugh. George Clooney, everyone, the most derided Bruce Wayne ever. Let's end it on him.
See, I think that's more of we're ending it on a fuck you to the audience.
I think that their PR team would say that we did it to make them laugh. But yeah, it is a fuck you.
It's a fuck you to the audience. And really like it's the giant shit cherry on a massive turd of a film.
I mean, more than him being in it and that being the alternate ending, I just have more of a problem of basic screenwriting 101 where Barry learned nothing and still fucked with everything.
Yes.
And that's why George Clooney is Batman. It's like, you fucked up it goes
But Sean, he needs his dad.
Even though his dad's like, hey, I've kind of come to terms with the fact that I'm going to die here in prison. I'm even used to being ass raped. So it's just like, just like, let your dad just live out his days with like those ginger freaks in Shawshank Redemption and be at peace.
I'm just saying, John, he needs his dad. That's why he had to do the thing. That's why he had to completely undercut his whole moral message of the whole movie. It's because he needs his dad.
You know what?
Nothing.
Well, do you know what I think would have been really intense, and like
what?
They never ever would have the balls to do this?
What?
And I partially, well, not just partially, but it's not from the comics. What if Barry like redid all this stuff, but then somehow and freed his dad, but then somehow found out his dad actually did kill his mom?
Oh, that. Now that right there would be an interesting movie, wouldn't it?
Yeah. He had to learn the ultimate lesson as hard as humanly possible.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I can see people coming out at you saying like this is a Jack Napier killed Batman's parents deal.
Well, also, I think you remember that movie The Mist?
Yes.
And how it's like the ending, he has to kill everybody in the car.
The ending is horrible.
Yeah.
In The Mist.
And that would have been this goofy movie where a baby was put in a microwave, and all these jokes would have ended with just a human being being emotionally shattered. They would have been like, I don't know about that.
Here's another version that would be interesting too. What if when he does go back, that alternate version is actually the killer? Like that alternate version of Henry Allen is the killer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this thing is still going to happen, but he didn't change anything.
His mom's death. Yeah.
Yes. Interesting.
I think we're writing a better movie, Brian.
We are writing a better movie.
But hey, if you want to get nuts, come on.
Oh,
let's get nuts.
That's one criticism that I didn't mention. Unfortunately, the screenwriters did not understand that throwing in pop culture references like that have no real like lead in a dialogue scene doesn't make for a good scene.
Oh, you mean like the Solo effect? Chewbacca, that's too hard. I'm going to call you Chewie.
No, but even that makes more sense. But like when he says, do you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And it's in reference to, hey, do you want to like go attack Zod directly? And I'm going like the lead into it, the actual like conversation that leads into that line makes zero sense when you think of the character.
Well, we need something for the trailer, Brian.
I know that, but then they shouldn't have included in the actual movie.
Yeah.
Like they do that all the time where they'll shoot things for the trailer and then not include it in the movie. But this it didn't make any sense. And it made me go like, why the fuck would you throw that in there? First of all, Michael Keaton said that to try to distract the Joker.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody who's like a fan of the let's get nuts thing, they're failing to understand that was done as a distraction. That was Bruce Wayne thinking, I'm going to try to distract the Joker in front of me and try to save Vicky from, whatever the fuck these gang members are going to do.
But Vicky's also too stupid to save herself. Yeah.
She's saving the popcorn.
Yeah. Oh, we can't have that on, because Michael Keaton's about to fall over. If the popcorn falls on him, he's going to look silly.
It's going to look silly. This isn't Mr. Mom. John.
Yeah. This ain't Mr. Mom. Okay. This is Clean and Sober. Is that the name of the movie?
Yes. Yeah. It was Clean and Sober.
Michael Keaton. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think some of those lines there just didn't land for me.
I did get a little smirk, even though I thought it was lame when they were going up on the elevator in Siberia, and he goes, "How much do you weigh?" I'm like, ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, okay. You got me there. Yeah. Again, Batman, 5-year-old Brian was very happy during those scenes. 37-year-old Brian was very disappointed.
I don't know. It also seems like this guy always worked alone, and he immediately is about partnership all of a sudden. You want some help?
It's lonely, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe he's just spent so many years since Alfred died, just like baiting alone in a giant house. And he's in like what they call like the conference room. And it's like, what does that even mean? And so he just like nuts in it. And he goes, nobody will ever see this. I jizzed on the floor. No one will ever see it because this house has so many rooms.
People think there were cobwebs. That wasn't cobwebs. That wasn't cobwebs.
Cobwebs or Bruce jizz here on the game show.
Yeah. I forget who it was. I think it was it was Tony from Hack the Movies. He had mentioned in his review of The Flash why there was no guano all over the Batcave, considering that Batman hasn't used it in like decades.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about that at the time, but I mean, he makes a good point.
And the reveal of the Batmobile for it to never be driven, that hurt me.
That hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Because that's a dream car.
Yes.
Right there. That's the dream car. Well, I think we've talked the Flash to death.
Yeah.
This was a disappointing film, but not surprising that it was disappointing.
Well, Brian, I got one final question for you.
What's your final question?
Of this? Do you think that the DCEU under James Gunn, or not just under him, but under anybody, do you think it's salvageable?
It depends on what they choose to do. So I really believe that the future of the DC as it's called now, not the DCEU, but the DCU, if they really try to make films in the vein of the Batman and the Joker, with filmmakers that have vision and that are less concerned with the interconnection between every film, then yes, I do think they will be successful. Do I think they will do that? No. Because at the end of the day, these films are products.
Yeah.
They're not art. They are products. They are not trying to tell compelling stories. They are trying to sell merchandising. And they're trying to sell tickets. And they're trying to sell subscriptions to Max. So, no, I don't think there will be any sort of, redemption for this if they go in thinking that. If they're trying to copy Marvel's playbook, it won't work. You know how it won't work? Because the last time they did this, we had the Snyderverse, and this is what we got. I'm not going to blame woke culture because I've seen some morons do that.
For what in this?
Oh yeah, that's the default.
Superman are supposed to have dicks.
Yeah. But I really believe that the only way that the DCU can actually regain any sense of shred of dignity and prestige that these movies had not that long ago. We're talking Dark Knight Rises. That wasn't that long ago. What was that, 2012?
Well, I mean, for better or worse, like Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and even Suicide Squad, those movies made $1 quadrillion billion. So if you're going by box office alone, like it wasn't that long.
I'm going by actually like they were good.
Right.
Like Man of Steel was, at least I felt Man of Steel was good.
Meh.
But
yeah,
I know there were people who don't like it, but I'm just saying, like, that's not that long ago. Okay. And I think if Warner Brothers decides that, listen, we're not capable of doing what Marvel does. So what can we do well? We can tell standalone single films that are about the characters and maybe deal with some deeper shit than just lasers in the sky. Maybe we do that. Try that one for a while instead of
imagine
this bullshit that we've seen, because it's not working. Like it's just not. The fan service doesn't work. It only goes so far. I think what we've really seen, John, and this isn't just with this movie. I think this has been with literally every one of these multiverse movies since Spider-Man No Way Home, is we have seen the failure of relying on nostalgia bait solely to sell a movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's what The Flash has done. It doesn't work. Doesn't work anymore. There's a limit.
And I think that from my point of view, I think that time is your ally, not your enemy.
Mm-hmm.
When I think of like the Star Wars movies, and I remember when they bought it from George Lucas, it's like, you're going to get 45 Kylo Ren movies and you're going to get 45 standalone movies. And these are all going to come out in 7 years. And it's like, wait, what? Is it going to be like a movie every weekend? They're like, yeah. But the thing is, when you go back to the original Star Wars movies, they're all 3 years apart. You had time to build up that desire, but not just build up the desire. You had time to like maybe fix things, adjust things script wise, stuff on the shoot, stuff in editing. Mm-hmm. I think that they're not going to, but I think that the James Gunn universe, it should go dark for a while. Yeah. Like 2 to 3, 4, 5 years and then releases movies, but they're not going to do that.
No.
And everybody, the average fan is just going to be confused. Like, wait, I just saw Ezra Miller as the Flash, and I just saw Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, but now they're different people because they're going to give like 6 months in between the end of the old DCU and the new DCU, and people are just going to be confused and annoyed, and they're just going to stop coming out to the theater like they already are.
I mean, it all goes down to story. I mean, I hate to say it, and we've said this a bunch of times. If you're not putting that at the forefront of what is important, the rest it doesn't matter. That people were attracted to the Joker and the Batman because they told very dark, mature, with multiple layers in their storytelling. And it's also rewatchable. Like you can rewatch the Batman and still get enjoyment out of it. There's not one DCEU film that I can think of where I'm like, oh, I'll go rewatch that. It just can't.
You mean not Harley Quinn and the Birds of Siren or whatever the fuck
that one I didn't hate as much, but like, no, I'm serious. That one I didn't hate as much, but like, it's the same sort of thing. I honestly forgot that one existed. So I mean, that's the thing. They're not going to do this. They will continue to, like a rat trapped in a maze, continue bashing their heads against the wall, and then ask why is this not working, and then continue to bash their heads against the wall continuously. So, I mean, they're not going to learn their lesson. I really don't.
Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, I don't want to give them too much credit. So I'm going to say accidentally. I think Marvel Cinematic Universe is accidental light in a bottle. And I think that it's proven so many times over that it's nearly impossible to replicate. I mean, remember the Universal monster movie universe that was supposed to come from The Mummy.
Oh,
you know, and that was immediately went down the toilet bowl. So good luck, James Gunn. Good luck in the DCU. I mean, I would like to see good DC movies. Yeah. But I would say don't rely on every movie having 37 connections between each one of them as much as Marvel does. Maybe just a little, but try to let these movies stand alone, and maybe to a degree with a few connecting points, and maybe you'll actually succeed.
Yeah. Part of me thinks that the reason why Marvel is lightning in a bottle is because of what came before it. What were the superhero movies that came before Iron Man? They were The Dark Knight. They were Batman Begins. Very dark, serious movies. And Marvel was the answer for that.
Yeah. We're goofy.
It's goofy. That's what it is. Good talk. Really solid talk. I had a feeling we would go an hour and a half.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised. I figure we would.
I feel there's probably another hour that Brian,
there probably is,
but the people wouldn't listen.
No, they tune out. And I mean, for the 5 people who still listening, thank you. Yeah. But yeah, I knew this was going to be a long one. I'm glad we got to talk about it. But I'll be fine if we never talk about Ezra Miller and The Flash ever again.
Yeah. I'm okay if we talk about The Flash if they recast.
Just not Ezra Miller.
Yeah, I'll be fine never talking about Ezra Miller ever again. Like, go to prison.
Mad Goose Wizard.
Yeah.
The Bengal Ghoul. I literally just found that today.
Yeah, he's apparently calling himself the Mad Goose Wizard, everybody. This individual is very emotionally disturbed.
They need some help. And they also need to be in prison, because I hate to tell you this, but if anyone else did what they did, they would not be walking the red carpet at their film premiere.
Yeah.
At all. But with that said, John, where can they find you at on the internets?
Oh, the old people trifecta: Twitter, Facebook, Instagrammable. And by the time you're listening to this, my Tom Holland, not Spider-Man, but the director of Child's Play, my interview with him will be out on YouTube.
Awesome.
So take a look at that. He's got a lot of cool insights on making movies, and the good thing is that he's like 80 something, so he has 0 fucks left to give, so he just tells it all, you know.
That's the great. I hope that by the time I get to 80s, if I make it to 80, that I'll just be like, let me tell you about the time of this, and this, and I don't give no shit about this person. Just no fucks given. You can find me on Twitter at Brian Collington. I also run our Psycho Show page. Be sure to like us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Psycho Show. We are also on the Tiki Talks for our Gen Z and millennial folk at Cinema Psycho Show. I've seen literally in the past couple days, a massive increase in people following us on there, and I'm not entirely sure why.
It's a hot new thing, baby.
I guess so. Like, we literally are, like, every couple of hours I'll look and I'll see, like, oh, 3 more people are following us, 4 more people are following us. Okay, well, this is cool, because I don't really think what we're putting out is anything good, but apparently people like it.
Oh no, Brian, it's the Tower of Power, too sweet to be sour, the man of the hour, ooh, prettier than a flower. That is us on TikTok.
Impressive. For those of you not on TikTok, you can also reach out to us on our Discord channel. Remember, we got that. Link for it is in the description of this episode. And if you want to just send us a good old-fashioned email, you can contact us at our website, cinemapsychoshow.com. And of course, follow us wherever you listen to podcasts, except for Stitcher, which apparently, I didn't think I told you this, Stitcher listeners, apparently your application is going to be done, I believe, next month. like they're closing Stitcher, the podcast app, down.
Wow.
Yeah. So for those of you on Stitcher, jump over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other ones, because we don't want to lose you. But yeah, apparently Stitcher is closing. So hate to tell you that, but for everybody else, follow us wherever you get your podcasts, and we will see you next time.
Enjoy all your Michael Keaton Batman. And just kidding, fucking Warner Brothers hates you, idiot.
Oh, nice.